Assalamu alaikum, sisters and brothers. I'm Nicolette Hodge, and this is We Reflect the Light newscast. Sisters and brothers, the war in the Middle East is in full action, and we know exactly how this war is going to turn out. I'm going to start off by identifying who we are, sisters and brothers, and then showing the proof of our true history right here in America for the last 400 years. And then show you how this war is directly connected to us. All right, sisters and brothers. The question is, who is the true seed of Abraham?
Abram's descendants are the ones who have the right to have this land, correct?
Make sure the volume is up, sisters and brothers.
Abram's descendants are the ones who have the right to have this land, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Why don't we do genetic testing on everybody?
Testing on everybody in the land and find out who Abram's descendants are.
One moment, sisters and brothers.
Have you seen this? Abram's.
All right.
Have you seen this? Abram's descendants are the ones who have the right to have this land, correct? Yes. Okay. Why don't we do genetic testing on everybody in the land and find out who Abram's descendants are? It's really simple. We've cracked the human genome. We can do that. Why don't we do that? Would you be against doing that? I have no idea what that would prove. I mean, maybe it would be. What do you mean? It would prove who Abram's descendants are and who has a right to live here and who doesn't, according to the theology that you yourself just explained. And so I'm very confused as to why we don't do that. If you believe the theology that you've just explained to me, would we do that all over the world? And everybody, this is the only country in the world that you've said has this covenant with God, that this people have a moral and legal right to the land.
But there are people who may not have bloodlines, but who have converted to Judaism. Are they going to be able to live here? Are you going to kick them out?
By your standards, they can't live here.
Oh, no,
you just told
said,
me
no,
that they have a right to live here because God gave them the land because they're the descendants of Abram.
The descendants of Abraham. But if they're the spiritual descendants of Abraham and they've now decided that they're converting to Judaism, then do they have a right to live in Israel?
Since you began this conversation by asking me, did I think they had a right to come here?
Yeah, that's
my
what
question was. On what basis do they have the right? And you said because God granted it to them.
And I also said because that there should be a land where Jews could live in peace and safety.
And I asked you what a Jew was, and you couldn't answer it. You said it partly is religious, but doesn't have to be. It's partly genetic, but it doesn't have to be. And so that you can see why I'm.
I think I was very clear.
Bibi's family, we know they lived in Eastern Europe. There's no evidence they ever lived here. He's not religious.
But
in what sense?
But ancestrally,
do you have his family tree? No, we don't.
Do you?
He doesn't. No one does. That's the point.
But
so how do we know that he's any connection to this land at all?
And if there has been a practice of Judaism and a connection to the language, the Bible, the land.
His ancestors didn't. He doesn't practice Judaism in any rigorous way. His ancestors didn't live here. They didn't speak the language, and there's no evidence they ever lived here. So in the territory that Israel controls today, particularly in the West Bank, who, through genetic testing, we can know their families have been here for thousands of years. We don't know whether they practiced Judaism, whether they were Samaritans, but pre-Islam. We don't know that. A lot of them we know have been Christians for 2,000 years. They have less of a right to the land than someone whose ancestors, the only thing we know about them is they lived in Latvia or Poland. They're Eastern European. How does that work? Have you seen this? Abram's
All right, sisters and brothers, who is the true seed of Abraham? False Israel claims that they are Abraham's seed, yet they don't have any proof. They have stolen our identity. They're over in the Holy Land pretending to be us. They're somewhere that they should not be, pretending to be somebody that they're not. Therefore, they are an abomination. So how do we know who the true seed of Abraham is? How can we prove it, sisters and brothers? The Holocaust identifies that we are the true seed of Abraham because the Holocaust is the true experience of Abraham's seed. They call our experience slavery. Slavery is only 1% of our experience. Our true experience was horror and terror 24/7, relentlessly. So who is the true seed of Abraham, and how can it be proven? The book of Genesis clearly outlines our history in a very detailed way so that there is no confusion about who the true seed of Abraham is. Right? And when the sun was going down, a deep sleep fell upon Abram. And lo, a horror of great darkness fell upon him. And he said unto Abram, know of a surety that thy seed, it's about the seed, sisters and brothers, because the seed is the bloodline. So don't get caught up in the word descendants or offspring. That does not clearly identify the bloodline. As you can see on the clip, the devils couldn't even identify whether their bloodline is truly Abraham's or not. And that's because they are liars, thieves, and murderers. So, know of a surety. That means this is not a question. This is not a might be. This is a sure, definite, that thy seed shall be sojourners, which means temporarily, in a land that is not theirs, and shall serve them, and they shall afflict them 400 years. So let's stop right there. That's two things going on, servitude and affliction. America only tells us about the servitude. However, the servitude, which is slavery, is only 1% of our experience. They don't talk about the other 99%, which is the affliction. So they're trying to hide our history from us in an effort to hide who they truly are and what they have done and the consequence for doing so. Because they receive a consequence for afflicting us, and we receive a consequence for enduring the affliction. So understand that there's a consequence for everything, sisters and brothers. Now, whether that be a positive or a negative consequence is up to you and you only. So there is a reward for everything. For every action, there is an opposite and equal reaction. So, know of a surety that thy seed shall be sojourners, which means temporarily in a land that is not theirs, and shall serve them, and they shall afflict them 400 years. The only ones who fit this description of Abraham's seed, which our father Abram is called Abram right here in the scripture, not Abraham, which is a very subtle hint identifying that Abram will be separated from his seed during this time period. Now, false Israel, they claim that they are us. However, their history does not identify what Genesis is identifying. So their history doesn't line up with the scriptures. So they cannot possibly be the true seed of Abraham if they did not go through 400 years of enslavement and affliction as sojourners in a land that is not theirs. So this is very simple, sisters and brothers. And so understand that slavery is an economic system of capitalism. Maximum profit, minimum overhead. That's the economic system for the season that we're in. So the winter season is the season that the devils have dominion over. We're coming out of the winter season and going into the spring season. So capitalism is the economic system for the winter season. Slavery is working someone without paying them. So maximum profit, minimum overhead. We're in the fields, growing their food, all right, building their mansions, taking care of the economic needs for that season of the time period of the rulership of the devils. Slavery is only 1%. How did they treat us during our servitude? What type of quality did they put to that economic system? How did they conduct themselves towards us? They afflicted us in the most gruesome and relentless manner, sisters and brothers. So the affliction is the bulk of our experience. Therefore, slavery is not the correct term. The Holocaust is the correct term for our experience. And the 400 years lasted from 1619 to 2019. Now, how can we verify that? How can we prove the 400-year timeline? Well, the next book in the Bible is Exodus, and Exodus comes in with a plague. Exodus identifies this plague that will pass over those that have the blood of the Lamb, which means they have the same bloodline, the same DNA as the Lamb, who is Abraham's seed himself. So that means that plague would pass over those who are the true seed of Abraham, the bloodline of Abraham. The plague did not pass over false Israel or any of the Caucasian nations. The plague knocked false Israel's numbers down significantly, killing off the firstborn and elderly, the Caucasians, while passing over those who have the blood of the Lamb. So Africa, Haiti, different parts around the world where the original black man and original black woman are, right here in America, the original black man and original black woman was not affected by COVID. Now understand that those who were affected by COVID that are original had bad health. So there's details in there. However, COVID-19, which is the plague, which came in 2020 right on time, signaling that their judgment started, that plague passed over us. Now the confusion comes in because during this affliction that we have endured for the last 400 plus years, let's get into that scripture and we'll come back to Genesis. It's clear. It's much easier to explain with the scripture. This is part of the affliction that we endured, sisters and brothers. The parable of the wheat and the tares, also known as chaff and the wheat. Okay? Tares is also chaff. Another parable he put forth to them, saying, the kingdom of heaven is like a man who sowed good seed in his field. But while the man slept, his enemy came and sowed tares among the wheat and went his way. But when the grain had sprouted and produced a crop, then the tares also appeared. So the servants of the owner came and said to him, Sir, did you not sow good seed in your field? How then does it have tares? He said to them, An enemy has done this. The servant said to him, Do you want us then to go and gather them up? But he said, No, lest while you gather up the tares, you also uproot the wheat with them. Let both grow together until the harvest, and at the time of the harvest, I will say to the reapers, First gather together the tares and bind them in bundles to burn them, but gather the wheat into my barn. Right, sisters and brothers? It does not say that he planted a seed. It says that this enemy came and sowed tares among the wheat. So this is identifying a biological situation in which two different seeds are presented here, the seed of man and the seed of the enemy. Now, the wheat represents a group of people, the original black man and original black woman. So the tares also represents a group of people as well. So this man who sowed good seed in his field, no problem there. It identifies the original man producing his original seed in the field, meaning impregnating his original black woman and producing his seed. Nothing wrong with that. No problems there. But while men slept, his enemy came and sowed tares among the wheat and went his way. So this is identifying an enemy, a male enemy that came and sowed his seed which are the tares, which is the chaff, among the wheat. So this is identifying a male enemy that raped the original black woman, which is the wheat, and sowed his seed, which are the tares. But when the grain had sprouted and produced a crop, then the tares also appeared. So that means that these two groups of people are mixed in with each other. So the servants, we're going back to reading. So the servants of the owner came and said to him, Sir, did you not sow good seed in your field? How then does it have tares? The good seed is the wheat. The bad seed is the tares, which is the chaff. He said to them, An enemy has done this. The servants said to him, Do you want us then to go and gather them up? But he said, No, lest while you gather up the tares, you also uproot the wheat with them. So he said, you cannot separate them. Otherwise, you're going to harm the wheat. You cannot separate the bad seed away from the good seed. Otherwise, you're going to harm the good seed, harm the original black man and woman. So and going back to the verse, let both grow together until the harvest. And at that time of the harvest, I will say to the reapers, First gather together the tares and bind them in bundles to burn them, but gather the wheat into my barn. So that a specific time, had to wait to a specific time period to separate these two groups of people. Now, wheat and chaff looks just alike. However, they're not the same. So this is identifying a situation that we are dealing with as a result of the Holocaust, as a result of the affliction that these devils put us through, in which these devils took our original black woman, forced their devil seed into our womb. So they sowed their seed and produced an entire hybrid nation of devils and black skin, which are demons, half devil, half man. They have the appearance of their original black mother, but the bloodline, they are the seed of their devil father, which is our open enemy. So our open enemy raped us, went into our wombs, and forced us to produce our hidden enemy. So now we are plagued with a nation of devils in disguise of black skin. They do not want to talk about the affliction that they put us through, sisters and brothers. Because to do so is to identify all of the horror that we endured. And they don't want to jog your memory. They don't want you remembering what was done to you. Because at that point, you're going to be looking for payback. You're going to be looking for revenge for what these devils did to us, afflicting us for the last 400 years. So the demons are the house Negroes, Mass's children, produced from the rape of the original black woman. These devils raped us non-stop. And it's very important to note that just the mere fact that they raped us tells you that we did not desire these devils. We did not want these devils touching us. We did not want any intimacy with these devils whatsoever. And in them being the cowards that they are, they raped us, taking something that does not belong to them, taking our wombs and using it to further their agenda. They claim that we are animals. They have us classified as animals through the U.S. Constitution with the 3/5 human clause. However, they themselves know that a human and an animal cannot produce a child. So them raping us around the clock for hundreds and hundreds of years, they knew exactly what they were doing. We're going to get into that deeper. What was the purpose of them taking on our appearance? Wolves in sheep's clothing amongst the sheep, camouflage in with the sheep. What was the purpose of them taking on our appearance while maintaining they still have their bloodline, their devil nature? Why did they do that, sisters and brothers? In order to understand what their end goal is, you would have to understand that there is a reward for enduring the enslavement and affliction for 400 years. A reward that specifically goes to the true seed of Abraham, Abraham's bloodline. And it's specifically those who endured, who were sojourning. Let's go back to the scripture, sisters and brothers. The reward specifically goes to Abraham's seed, who was a sojourner in a land that is not theirs. The original black man and black woman right here in North America, we were brought to this land. This is not our land. We were not born here. So we must understand that these preachers, these ministers, Minister Louis Farrakhan, he is a product of rape. His Caucasian father raped his black mother and forced her to give birth to a demon, a devil in black skin. The preachers and deacons, those over the church, they are also demons. The demons were put in place as overseers, taskmasters, religious leaders, entertainers. And today, they are still in the big house, just like they was in the big house. They was in Mass's house when we were in the fields. So we see the same thing, it's just updated. So they're in the big house now, and they are put in the big house, one, because they're massive seed, the devil's children. He can trust them. For two, they look like us. Understand that all skin folk ain't kinfolk. However, without the knowledge of who demons are, our people are just following anybody with a black face, anybody who has black skin. So they're on the media falsely representing the original nation. Louis Farrakhan over the Nation of Islam. He's not even an original man. He's a Caucasian man in black skin. But because he has our appearance, he has that black skin, and you don't know the truth about what was done to us, so you trust someone who looks like you. And they're specifically put in place to ensure the destruction of Abraham's seed. And they have many different ways of doing that. We have a vision, sisters and brothers, the Abrahamic covenant. It's the very next verse after verse 17. We'll get into that next. Farrakhan's job is to block your vision. And the rest of the demons are doing the same, telling us that we need to get reparations. We're not going anywhere. When the scriptures clearly identifies that we are sojourners in a land that is not ours. COVID-19 did not pass over the devils in black skin. But see, that's how they confuse you. Oh, COVID-19 is killing all these black people. Are they original? Do they have the blood of the lamb is the question. So that's another game that they played on our minds. However, the messenger of the covenant, Daniel the prophet, the breaker of the seven seals, and those of us reflecting his light was on post letting you know. Don't worry about COVID-19. This plague is passing over us. You don't need no jab. Your DNA is your protection right there. Stay healthy. Do your 5 pillars. Make sure you're eating 1 meal a day. You'll be fine. So when they're pushing, saying that we need reparations, this is our land, that's not correct, sisters and brothers. The demons, they want this land for themselves. They want the plantation for themselves. Let's keep moving. It says, we spoke about the judgment after the 400 years. The time period lasted from 1619 to 2019. 2020 came in with the judgment, which is the plague. And it's one of many, sisters and brothers. Understand that's just the tip of the iceberg. They have, and they are experiencing the judgment right now. Part of that judgment process is us knowing our history, the Holocaust, and understanding that you are the judge as well. And you are going to give them back double. That's the balance now. Scriptures tells us an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. So that means they haven't gotten away with a damn thing. It shares, and afterward shall they come out. Come out, sisters and brothers, not stay here, not move to the side, not go next door. Come out with great substance. But thou shalt go where? Go to thy fathers in peace. Our fathers is not from America. Our father Abram is from Arabia. So it shares, thou shalt be buried in a good old age. And in the fourth generation, we're in the fourth generation right now, sisters and brothers, they shall come hither, which means return again. Return where? To the same place our father Abram was at when he had this vision of horror of what we would endure. And that's exactly what happened, sisters and brothers. It says, know of a surety. This ain't no guess. This is a sure, definite experience. So that totally dispels this BS about critical race theory. It says, know of a surety. A theory may or may not be true. There's nothing theoretical about the Holocaust. Our experience is documented facts. In the fourth generation, they shall come hither again. So that's 3 different times. This scripture has told us that we're coming out of this land that we have been sojourning in, undergoing this affliction for the last 400 years. And it came to pass that when the sun went down and it was dark, behold, a smoking furnace and a flaming torch that passed between these pieces. I'm going to highlight the sisters because this is a story of victory. This is a history of victory, a history of resilience. Highlighting the strength of the original Black woman and the sacrifice that she has made for our nation while under extreme duress, while under extreme pressure. We were not allowed to procreate with our original man, period. What they show you on the movies is lies. We did not have families. We were not having our own cabins and eating dinner together after a long day. None of that. These pictures really don't do any justice because we did not even have any clothes on. Understand that they stripped our clothes off of us so that they could have access to our bodies 24/7, so that they could have access to our wombs. Here you see these 3 devils about to pounce on this sister. That is extreme torture. And we were in a constant state of fear. They cut us open and tinkered with our organs without any anesthesia. They cut our babies out of our wombs. They used our babies as alligator bait. Went alligator hunting with our precious sons and daughters. Putting our baby down in the water to lure alligators in. And they were feeding our babies to the alligators. And through all of that pressure, all of that stress, all of that torture that they put us through, all of that duress, our sisters saved our nation. They were trying to totally rape our seed out of existence. We did not let that happen. We stood up for our nation in a time of need, and we are still doing it today. We made a 400-year sacrifice, constantly giving charity to our nation by sneaking to procreate with our original black man, encouraging him to sow his good seed in our field so that we could keep Abraham's bloodline alive. We put our life on the line to keep Abraham's seed in existence. The devil's goal was for all of us to be house Negroes. 100% devils in black skin. We said we ain't having that. We saw ahead. So we did what needed to be done, and we're still doing what needs to be done. And we snuck to produce our original babies. Keep them coming through the womb. We knew one day our sons would come back and avenge us. Understand that we're all back through the womb. We are our ancestors. So that is not to be taken lightly. You have made a severe sacrifice, sisters, and it has not gone unnoticed, and you have a reward for doing so. Your way is paved in gold because of what you did for this original nation. And as I like to highlight with the sisters, you got a 9-month pregnancy. We had to protect the pregnancy, make sure that the pregnancy survived. And then the first few months that it takes to stabilize that child, also that we could be here today, and we are the evidence of that. That is not easy, sisters and brothers. The sisters know this very well. That is a very strenuous and tedious task, on top of all of the agricultural labor that we were doing. That's something that only a warrior queen could do. So understand that this is not a sob story. This is not a damsel in distress situation. I'm jogging your memory, letting you know what you have done, the actions that you have already taken, and letting you know that there's a reward for that. So step up and claim your reward, because you already earned it, sisters. You put sweat, blood, and tears into keeping Abraham's seed alive, while being stepped over and unprotected by our men throughout the whole process. And if they tried to protect us, if our men stood up for us, they would murder him after they tortured him. Also, if these devils suspected that we were pregnant with an original baby, they would torture and murder us. So I'm jogging your memory, letting you know that your efforts, your actions have a reward. Now that's the biological war. It's a biological, it's a scientific biological fact that the father carries the seed. Therefore, you are the seed of your father. There's nothing to change that. So these devils knew exactly what they were doing by putting their seed in us and making us produce their demon children. Now, out of 34 million blacks right here in America, 17 million are demons. So half of the blacks in America are really devils in black skin. These devils were pushing for 100% of the blacks in America to be devils in black skin. However, we did not let them be successful, so we were victorious in that battle against our seed. So these devils went to war with us in the fields, and they were defeated. And we were victorious, so we already won a battle. So I'm also bringing to your attention that we have a winning streak. We are the most victorious people on the planet. They cannot take that away from us. No matter how much they downplay us, no matter how much they step over us, no matter how much they call us names, no matter how much they portray us on the media as pimps, whores, and clowns, that's not us. That's them. So hold your head up high, because you has already recorded in history. It's a historical fact that you have already been victorious in a war with these devils, in a battle with these devils. And we're about to go into another battle, sisters. A battle to leave America. And they're going to try to do everything they can, which they already, let me make this clear, they're doing everything they can to prevent us from leaving America. However, we're going to be victorious again and again and again and again. And these devils are going to continue to be defeated all the way down to their destruction. Let's keep moving. They put this Jesus lie on us. Jesus. Jesus never existed. The name is nowhere in the original manuscripts. Furthermore, they gave us a visual of Massa. Told us that if we don't believe in Jesus, that we're going to go to hell and burn forever and ever. And even if we do go to heaven, we'll be slaves forever and ever and ever. Jesus never existed. It's an illusion, sisters and brothers. It's a myth. Just something that was made up to keep us in fear. So that we don't even think for ourselves, so that we don't even ask any questions. So scared, just frozen in fear, scared to even question this Jesus lie. And that's exactly what they wanted. Specifically torturing our sisters with this Jesus lie. Have us walking around in this state of conviction and fear, where our sisters are in the church trying to save their family from hell, not even realizing that we are in hell right now and have been in hell for the last 400 plus years. So this is important to understand, because we're not sitting around praying to no Jesus, no mystery God, no mythical being. We're going to get up and save our own original nation. We're going to save ourselves, just as we have done in the past. Now, even as mothers, we know that if your baby is sick, a prayer ain't going to do nothing. You got to get up and go follow the mathematics. Do what science says. The baby got a fever. You can't pray that fever away. You can't pray away an ear infection. You got to get to the doctor and get the whatever science says needs to be done, whatever the treatment plan is. So we know deep down within that prayer, the way that they have taught it to us, is a bunch of BS, and that we have to get into action. And with this war in the Middle East, and the outcome of this war, and the fact that they're going to attack all blacks after America as a result. For one, America's going to lose the war. For two, false Israel is going to be destroyed. False Israel claims that they are us. They cannot let false Israel be destroyed before they destroy us, because if false Israel goes down before we do, then that automatically reveals that we are the true seed of Abraham, and they are liars, thieves, and murderers. They are the seed of the devil. They are the synagogue of Satan. For two, when America loses this war in the Middle East, there will be a total economic destruction as a result of that. Because Iran and Syria, who's backed by our God, Master Farad Muhammad, is going to win this war. So they're going to take control of our oil, which right now, another enemy of ours, the House of Saud, is sitting on our land, has renamed our land Saudi Arabia. So they put their name on it to show ownership, which is a red flag. And they are controlling the oil. Saudi Arabia is the dragon, and the dragon fuels its angels, which are America, Britain, and false Israel. So the dragon gives them oil, and this entire economic system is totally dependent on oil. So when America loses that war in the Middle East, Iran is going to totally cut off their oil supply. And that means total economic destruction, immediate famine. Remember, they have us classified as animals through that 3/5 human clause in the U.S. Constitution. Animals are meat. So they have us classified as their food. And in their minds, they are legally allowed to do so, because they have already written that into their laws. And they're going to eat us before they touch their animals. They'll eat us before they eat their own dogs. So we are in danger, sisters and brothers. We are in danger because we are the true seed of Abraham. And it's time for us to make our exit of America, make our exodus. And this is the light that you need, sisters and brothers, so that you can get out of here safely in one piece. And we have a vision to unite under. And that day, God made a covenant with Abram, saying, "Unto thy seed have I given this land, from the river of Egypt unto the great river, the river Euphrates." Those two rivers are not in America. It says, "Unto thy seed." The seed is the bloodline of our father Abram, which again, remember, this is the part in scripture he's called Abram, to identify that Ham, which is his seed, will be separated from him during this time. "Unto thy seed have I given this land, from the river of Egypt unto the great river, the river Euphrates." When you look on a map, The land that's between those two rivers is Arabia. Arabia is our promised land. So this is the vision, sisters and brothers. This is our mission to fulfill. And we have one vision to unite under. So we don't have to guess about where we're going or what we're going to be doing. This is our vision. We are promised an economic system. This is our land, Arabia. This is your reward for enduring 400 years of enslavement and affliction. Now, what they want our reward. So bringing everything together by them raping us all throughout the Holocaust and camouflaging themselves amongst us, they were trying to steal, and they still are, trying to steal our Abrahamic covenant. And with the whole Jesus lie, the word that's in the original manuscripts, the character that is identified as Joshua the Messiah, he's the one to lead us home to the promised land. He is the one to fulfill the Abrahamic covenant. He is also the messenger of the covenant. So their goal was to pretend to be the true seed of Abraham, so that when Joshua the Messiah comes along, they could confuse and deceive him and act like they are the true seed of Abraham. They would look exactly like the true seed of Abraham, but they wouldn't have the DNA or the bloodline. So the goal was to deceive the Messiah, Joshua, about who the true seed of Abraham is, so that they could have our reward. However, they cannot deceive Joshua the Messiah, the messenger of the covenant. He knows his sheep. So a wolf in sheep's clothing coming up to the shepherd, acting like he's one of the sheep. You cannot deceive the shepherd, which he's called the good shepherd. But their goal was to deceive Joshua the Messiah. And their fallback was to, which they have carried that out, and that ain't successful either, to pretend that they are the spiritual seed of Abraham and all that BS that they were saying earlier in the beginning of this video. And that has easily been proven to be a lie as well. So understand, sisters and brothers, that this war in the Middle East is about the Abrahamic covenant. And it's about the true seed of Abraham, the original black man and woman right here in North America, who's about to go take our land back. So, as you can see, we are in great danger simply because of who we are and what we have endured. And these devils are trying to take something that does not belong to them. Once again, trying to claim the Abrahamic covenant when they are not the true inheritors of the Abrahamic covenant. We are. So understand, this is extremely serious. This is our vision. And we must prepare to exit America. Get yourself a 30-day supply of food that does not need to be cooked. Think about your children, sisters and brothers. Have that in your car ready to go. Have gas in your car secured safely. Have your gas tank filled up. Be prepared to move out at any moment. We are about to unite as one body, one mighty army under our vision of the Abrahamic covenant. And we are about to leave America. And these devils will make a deadly attack on us to prevent our rise. However, they will not be successful. And sisters, your way is paved in gold. So with that, that brings this segment to a close. And I will be back with more. Assalamu alaikum.